definitely want to make sure if you have a specific question that I answer that for you. Here's my slideshow. Okay, so I can't see you while I'm presenting. So Yasmin, if you'll let me know if somebody has a question or um, something in the chat, then I'll make sure that I give that time. So like I
Perfect.
said, thanks. We're talking about 5 hacks to learn how to code easier and faster. And basically, I just want to make sure that you don't have all the frustration that comes with learning to code. I want you to keep your momentum. A lot of you probably have New Year's resolutions to learn to code or get a career in tech or to just get a job in tech in 2023. Actually, if that's you, let me know in the chat. Can y'all put a one in the chat if you want to get a job in tech in 2023? Um, or if there's some other reason why you're learning to code, let me know. Maybe you want to freelance or start a business or something, you have an idea. I'm curious. So, the agenda here today is just to give you some strategies to help you learn quicker. So, this meetup is actually for a certain group of people that I had in mind. First, either you are a self taught programmer, so you've been using online resources to learn how to code, and you have maybe a little bit of experience building some applications or some, small projects or something. Two, you might be a person who's thinking about enrolling in a boot camp. And of course, this is for you because we have a boot camp. We talk to people in your situation all the time. We know some of those pain points. So this meetup is for you. And lastly, if you are a computer science major or graduate and you have the theoretical knowledge but no hands-on experience, and your goal is to build a portfolio so you can be more appealing, more well-rounded to hiring managers, then this meetup is for you. So I want to pause real quick. I'd like to know where you are in your journey. So if you are self-taught, put a one. If you are thinking about enrolling in a boot camp, put a two. If you are a computer science grad, put a three in the chat. If you are none of these things, put a four in the chat because I just want to know where everybody is. I see some ones. So a lot of self-taught people here. Um, Sasan is a two and a three. He is actually in a boot camp. He's in our boot camp right now in C sharp. And he also has a CS degree or some CS experience. So yes, that's very good to know. Alex is a one, self-taught. Sophia is a one, Bridget one, Maxine is one and two, Oli is one. So yes, okay. Just as I suspected, there are a lot of people who, as you're learning to teach yourself to code, you probably have some obstacles that are either making it take a longer amount of time or just, you've gotten to a plateau and you don't think that you can go any further. I'm definitely here to help. So let's move on to the next slide. So as Yasmin mentioned, Skillspire is a boot camp. We have these 6 technologies that we are currently teaching. Each of these appeals to, different types of people or different interests. Um, we have C Sharp, which is a 20-week course that teaches you core C Sharp programming and also cloud computing. So if you've heard of AWS or Google Cloud, those are very similar to what is taught in that class, which is Microsoft Azure. I'm sure you've heard of Microsoft, so I won't go into that, but that class is starting in March. So if you are interested in that particular thing, you have time to apply if that's what you want to do. We also have a cybersecurity course, which is 16 weeks. It's for people who are more interested in hacking. So making sure that people who um, are trying to get access and they shouldn't have it, don't get it. People, making sure customers' data is secure or users' data is secure, and just overall guarding information in the cybersecurity realm. We have data analytics, which is 12 weeks, and it covers Excel, Python programming, um, SQL database, and Power BI. And this is for anybody who is interested in math and numbers and those kinds of things. Data analytics is definitely something that you should look into if you're interested in programming, but specifically are very interested in math and things like that. One thing I want to mention is, has everybody heard about the controversy surrounding TikTok right now? So if you haven't heard, TikTok is being banned on government devices and other things. You can't download it because TikTok has access to all kinds of data on your device that you use to access TikTok. And so it's kind of becoming a problem. What does this have to do with data analytics? Well, TikTok is mining data from people, from the millions of people that use the app. And the data analytics people that work at TikTok are doing all kinds of things with our information. Who knows what? Mostly, I suspect it is to give us ads, more ads, and those kind of things. So if you are a data analytics person, that topic of TikTok is probably interesting to you because they're they have access to all our data. Just a sidebar, but next up we have Java, which is a 20-week course. It is perfect for people that have a little bit of programming experience already because Java is such a big language. There's so much to learn. If you have already been on the path of self-teaching yourself or you had experience in college or something, Java is great for you. And it also includes cloud computing with AWS. So it's going to make you even more marketable. You'll be a double whammy of skills. This is what you'll have at the end of that class. And then next, of course, we have MERN, which is my favorite because that is the class I teach. That's the stack I use in my professional life. It's 16 weeks and it covers full stack web development with JavaScript and Node. And you'll learn how to build web apps from scratch. So if you've ever used a Google app like Gmail or Google Sheets or Google Docs or something like that, then that is built with MERN, and you'll know how to use those same technologies that the people over at Google use for those things. Lastly, we have Python, which is very similar to MERN. You will learn full stack web development, but with the Python programming language instead of JavaScript. Both of these cover databases, Git, GitHub, and a whole gamut of technologies that will help you become an excellent web developer. So I just mentioned this because we have students in all of these courses, and we've seen the pain points of, their journey as they go through our courses and learn how to code, and they have us as a guide. If you are self-taught, you don't have a guide, so you have an additional hurdle that you have to overcome. So these are just some things that we've compiled that has helped our students, and we're sharing it with you so you can fare better as you learn. So, about me, I am a boot camp grad. I went to a boot camp in 2017, and I've been in the industry ever since. I have taught children and adults. I've taught various web technologies. I've taught Python, JavaScript, React, databases, all kind of things, probably something I've forgotten to mention, but the point is I'm just an advocate for new developers. As I mentioned, I definitely want to make sure that you have enough information to make a good decision about your career and how to go about achieving your goals. So if you have specific questions that don't get answered here, I want you to email me and I will definitely get back to you, or something that you think of later. My email address will be at the end of this presentation, so get ready to take that down later. And then if you have questions, just reach out. So I'm going to get started with the first thing, but before I talk about that, I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions. That looks like no questions yet. Very good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, hi, my name is Latanya, and I'm very interested, but for your Python program, what particular front end do you use for that full stack web development with Python?
I'm not sure about the specifics of Python. Yasmin, do you know? I know it's Python and
It is. I think as far as I know, I think it's JavaScript.
JavaScript. Okay, that's
okay.
good. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so Was that the only question? Because I'm going to. Okay, so somebody asks what's more popular, Python or Java. In that case, I I think they are both used for different things. I don't know that one is more popular than the other because it's like comparing oranges and apples. Like sometimes you want an orange, sometimes you want an apple. But it's Python is very versatile. You can use Python for web development. You can also use Python for data analytics. So if you're a person that is going to be ultimately want to go into maybe machine learning or that side of things, then you would probably prefer Python and specifically data analytics. If you are a person that is interested in software, then I would say you would probably be more interested in Java. Then we have a question, what programming language will you be teaching in cybersecurity class? And it is Python, as Yasmin mentioned. As I mentioned, Python is very versatile, and you'll use that in cybersecurity, as I mentioned, the other two things where you would see that. So yes. And then we have in cybersecurity class, will you be concentrating on coding or theory? Um, with with that, I think it's a good mix of both. You need the theory to know how to prevent attacks before they happen, what to do when you actually have an attack, and just overall good practices. So you have those
I
things.
can I can tell a little bit about the cybersecurity class. So
Okay,
we
yeah.
do focus on the foundations. So we start with the operating system layer, network layer, application security, network security, cloud security, then get you into Python, and then get into the advanced concepts where we go into the offensive and the defensive security. So this course actually prepares you for the CompTIA Security Plus. If you need more details or if you need to see the syllabus, we can definitely, send that over to you. Just let me know and we can do that.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put my email. I'm not going to make you wait till the end. I'm going to put my email address down here in the chat. And if you have if you want the syllabus for any of the courses I mentioned, just send me an email and I'll make sure you get the syllabus for that. Um, so looks like that's all of our questions for now. Let's move on to the first hack for learning to code faster. So we have stick with one. So my biggest piece of advice for brand new people, like you just decided that I'm going to go ahead and learn tech. The main thing is to learn to pick one thing and stick with it. So either you want to hack, you want to code, do you want to deal with data, do you want to be in the cloud? Narrow it down to one of those domains, and then you can move on from there. The first thing I want you to do is just decide what it is that you're most interested in because it's hard work. So you want to make sure that it's going to be something that you're interested in so you stick with it. You want to have a natural curiosity about those things. So if you've ever like been in a Walmart and you're like, I wonder how this cash register works, then go research that and see where it leads you and see what part of that process is most interesting to you. And you can go from there. There's some resources that you can use to kind of test things out. Um, you can also, one of the resources I was going to mention is Code Academy. It's a free website where you can go and do different modules of different programming languages and different things. So they have data analytics, they have web development, they have software, they have cloud. So that's a good place to start if you are just brand new and you're not sure what it is that you want to do. And the other thing is to choose one resource. So whether that's a course, a tutorial, a book, whatever it is, don't jump around between different resources too much. Choose one and stick with it. So if you find a intro to programming video somewhere and you want to work through the video, make it through the whole video, build whatever it is, whatever that objective is, and then see what else that person has to offer. So for my Merge Stack students, one of the people I recommend is Traversy. So they, if they want to do some self-study on a particular topic, they can go watch these videos. But why I say pick one resource is because there will be consistency in the way that that thing is taught. So when you're a new developer, if you're watching multiple things, you don't know where the overlap is. So you won't know where the person is just teaching you a new approach to something or if it's something brand new completely. So choose one thing, stick with it to the end, and try to progress through that same type of medium. So if it's YouTube videos, then watch whoever YouTube videos those are. If you've chosen a course, choose a course and stick with it. Stick with it to the end because you will have parts where they are difficult. But ultimately, if you get to the end, it doesn't matter how you get there, what it takes, just finish it out. The next thing is learn one thing at a time. This helps with focus and when it's complete. So you know when you've what you should know in that amount of time. So if you decide that you want to get into cybersecurity, um, learn the different parts of cybersecurity before you try to, throw in something about cloud or this or that. Just stick with one thing. It'll help you just focus is the biggest thing, and it'll help you gather up all the knowledge that you need without having any gaps if you just stick with the one resource instead of trying to jump around. It'll also help you avoid repetitive things. You know, usually when you do a tutorial, you have one um, trajectory of how it goes. So you start with something and then you progress. If you are always starting over, you're always getting the same information over and over, and that's not going to be as helpful as finishing one thing. The next thing is have at least one day of the week where you are not learning. Just rest. It's so important, and I can't even actually, I am going to explain to you later on why it's important for your brain to have that rest in between time. That's the ultimate way to learn is just have that time in between for your brain to kind of reset and build those pathways to help you learn. One thing I want to mention is this image that I have right here. Um, with all these books. So this is actually a set of ebooks that is being sold on Amazon right now. And I won't be too critical, but I will say there is no reason why one person needs to know all these things right here. They're selling this ebook as a set, and it's very impractical to think that you're going to go through each of these books and then get a job as a developer. More than likely, you're not going to make it through all of these things because it's just not the way our brain works, and it's also not the way software development works. These things, there's there's no situation where all of these things will be present in um, one application. You might have a mixture of these things, but definitely not all. So you don't want to go through, buy something like this thinking it's going to put you in the best position. Choose one of these things and get good at it, and then you can start applying for jobs in this field. But trying to learn all of them is a recipe for disaster. So we are done with our first tip. I'm going to pause for questions. Let me check the chat. You can write your question in the chat, or you can just come off mute and ask your question. So I'm going to go over to the chat and see what we have. Okay, so Yasmin put her email in there, y'all. You can email her or you can email me with your questions and we'll definitely get back to you with some answers. And then, yes, Sasan agrees with us. He is a current web development student, so he knows some of these things we're saying are very true as he goes on his path. Any other questions? Very good. All right. So I guess I'm either covering everything perfectly or you guys are shy. I'm not sure which one it is. We'll move on. If you think of a question, throw it in the chats. All right. So number two, my biggest piece of advice, my second biggest piece of advice is to get a mentor and find a tribe. So there's different places where you can find a mentor. If you are in college right now for a CS degree, your admins and your professors, um, these people can be your mentors. Um, a lot of times, the people who are teaching you are invested in your success. So this is a good place to start if you are currently enrolled in college. The next thing, of course, is your boot camp instructors and staff. I know at Skillspire, we have a whole gamut of people who help our students in various parts of their boot camp experience. As an instructor, I'm always giving resources to my students. I see what they're interested in, and I can tell them, well, hey, if you're interested in this, I know we don't cover it in class, but here's a resource that you may want to check out on your own time to learn whatever the thing is that you're actually interested in. We also have a career coach. So our career coach reaches out to the students to help with LinkedIn and resumes and things that will help them on the soft skills side get um, jobs in the industry or internships, because we have a person just for making partnerships in the industry so we can pass it on to our students. I know in my class I have a TA named Simret. She was a student at Skillspire. She became a TA and she actually got her first web development job from a relationship that our career coach had. So she passed on Simret's resume and Simret got the job. So that's a pretty cool thing, having those mentors built in to help you along the way. Your mentors are there for support and resources. You can pay for a coach or coaching program. Be careful with this because you want to make sure that your person that you are that is your coach is qualified for to be your coach. You want to make sure that they are going to be accessible when you need them and ultimately can do more for you than just check up on you. You want to be able to tap into their resources or whatever it may be. This can be somewhat costly, but if you are, it's another option for you if you're looking for a mentor. Lastly, you can find friends or family members in the business. They are going to know you very well, so they can give you information tailored to you and also, resources that they know or have. Um, I really think that as you are a new developer, it's good to have a mentor because they can tell you some of the pitfalls of the journey, some things to look out for, how to get over certain obstacles. Um, for my bootcamp students, I always make sure that I try to give them as much information, not just the technical information that they need to know, but also just experience, little tips and tricks, things like that. So I feel like it's very important to have a mentor. I have a mentor to this day, and it really has helped me. He's helped me a lot. And then on the other side of it is finding a tribe. So these are people who are in your same situation. So other people who are learning, who are new to development, and you learn and grow together. So we have a Discord channel here that you can join and learn with other people. Um, Yasmin, can you put the info for the Discord channel in the chat in case folks want to join it? And then we have, you can join Facebook groups. There's Facebook groups for every type of person learning to code. So I didn't mention this before, but before I was a developer, I worked in retail. So for several years, I was a retail manager, and you can find a group for people in retail learning to code. You can find a group for firefighters learning to code. Any like whatever segment of the population, you can find a group of people in that industry that want to transition to tech. And it's good to kind of have a community with those people because you see somebody who's in your same situation can learn those things and progress. One question that I always get a lot is, people will be like, "Oh, I'm currently doing such and such. Do you think I'll be able to become a developer?" Or I'm 30 years old. Is it too late for me to learn how to code? And the answer is yes, of course. I feel like anybody can learn how to code. That doesn't mean everybody should, but I definitely know that if tech is where you want to be, you can definitely find a job doing something. There's so many um, job positions that people have not heard of outside of tech. But there's people who solely just teach people how to use a certain technology within a company. There's people at Google who are called developer advocates. They have this position everywhere where they, well, nearly everywhere, where the people just teach people, other people, about the technologies that they're creating at a particular company. There are people who recruit other developers to go work for a particular company. So you don't need to actually have tech skills, but the more about tech that you know, the better you can vet people for certain positions. These are all tech adjacent jobs that are available to you. You may get into tech and find out that it's not actually what you want to be doing every day, but you are interested in some aspect of it. Whatever the case may be, there is a job in tech for you. And joining these groups and things like that will help you find people with similar interests, and that can guide you to things that you might want to check into. Of course, there's YouTube channels, and sometimes you'll join a program and they'll have some type of forum. Um, Basically, just finding other people that will help keep you accountable and provide support along your tech journey. That is my second hack for learning to code quicker. And it's just more fun. It's more fun when you have people that you can talk to and joke with and share with. So that is my number two hack. I'm going to pause again for questions. You can write your question in the chat, or you can just let me know.
Yes,
All
hi,
right.
this is Latanya again. And I think there's a conversation going on about getting access to your channel in Discord.
Uh-huh.
Is there a specific, because we're not able to gain access to it yet. Did we get that resolved, or we still? Just,
So
So
we're still in the
curious.
process, Latanya. So I can go ahead and send you the QR code if you drop in your email on the chat.
Okay, all right, awesome, awesome.
And I think we have a question here from Robert. I have taken certification tests for SQL. Are these certification tests really any good? Some of them are connected to classes, but others have been offered free.
okay, so for regarding those certifications, for many jobs in tech, certifications are not necessary. They're helpful, but you don't necessarily need a certain certification. So if you've taken some type of SQL thing, it's good to have. It's definitely good to have those skills, but it's not required. I actually don't have any certifications. I've been in the industry for 6 years, and it's never come up for me. I know when it comes to cybersecurity, they are more certificates or, exam centric. So they do want you to have certain things and they'll mention it in job postings. But for web development and software, for the most part, you don't need those. See. All right, I see a bunch of email addresses in there. And if you scroll up in the chat, if you want to send us a message directly about something, you can email Yasmin or myself. All right. Any more questions before I move on? We're on number 2 so far. Okay, so just to refresh, here are hacks. Number 1 is stick with one, choose a programming language and stick with it. And then number 2 is get a mentor and find a tribe. These are like things that really help you along the way. And the friends that I had back in boot camp, I don't talk to them all the time, but when I do, we have such a good time reminiscing about, remember when we didn't know JavaScript and now look at us. We're leading teams and really, we're in the industry. All right. So next, number 3. I don't know if y'all have heard this acronym before, but there is an acronym and it's RYFM. It stands for read your freaking manual. But I have one that I always tell my students. I don't tell them this exactly, but I do tell them make sure you're reading your error messages. So far you have chosen a tech stack, you have got your community, and now you should be learning. As you learn, I want to make sure that you are reading your error messages and you're not scared of them. So a lot of times in life, we don't want to make mistakes. It's, we want to be as perfect as possible. And of course, this kind of translates to learning tech. So as you learn, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have errors. You're going to have syntax errors for you web developers and software developers, even anything in tech, you're going to have a syntax error at some point. So that's just when you write down a command incorrectly or you use something incorrectly. This is to be expected, but you're most of the time you're going to get an error message. I want you to not be scared of when you see red text. Don't be scared to go investigate why something is failing. A lot of times you get an error message, and that's kind of a good thing because you know where your program is failing. So you have error messages, error logs, read through them, and it's going to tell you what your issue is. And a lot of times it'll give you suggestions about how to fix your error. Right here is just a screenshot of um, trying to use Git or GitHub in an application. So probably somebody is trying to push their code to GitHub and they have some red text here. It doesn't necessarily mean it's an error. But if you see this and you're expecting something to happen and you're having a problem, you are going to kind of freak out about it, but you shouldn't. Um, I'm sorry, y'all. Give me just a second. Yasmin, if you don't mind, if you have some questions in the chat or something, get to them and I will be right back.
So, can you, okay, yeah, I am unmuted. Sorry about the QR code not working. I think we'll get that fixed and we will send you the recording as well so that, and you can go back and watch that. Monica, you back? Okay.
I am back. I'm sorry about that. So anyway, talking about errors, don't be scared of them. Usually the error message will give you a suggestion on how to fix it. And when you get an error message, just paste that error in Google and you'll get some suggestions that pop up. The main thing to remember is if you've had that error, probably somebody else along the way has had that same error, and there is a solution for you somewhere on the internet. So, as a developer, Stack Overflow is going to be one of your biggest resources. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to use those resources. All right, I'm going to pause for questions. You guys are so quiet. So, oh, yes, somebody missed the first tip. Ravon, I'm going to show my first 3 tips in just a second. So anybody have a question that they want to come off mute and ask?
Yeah, hi. Just curious, are these courses open source or is there a fee or did you mention that already?
Oh, I don't think I mentioned the price of the courses. The courses that we offer are paid courses. So we have curriculum that is developed by industry professionals that is administered live online. If you are in the Bellevue area, you can come in person as well. But I can send that out as well. I'm sorry, I should have included that in this presentation. All of our prices are listed on the website, though, if you are curious. I'm going to put the website in the chat. So feel free to visit, and we have information about the courses online, including the price, the schedules, and all that there for you. All right, next. So these are the hacks that we've mentioned before. Number 1 is stick with one language, get a mentor, find a tribe, and then read your freaking error messages. Don't be scared of those. They are there to help you. All right. Moving on to number 4. All right, so there is such thing as tutorial hell. Excuse my language, but this is what it's called. And there's also such thing as happy path. So these are two things that are going to hinder you, as fun as they may be. You start learning on your own by using YouTube tutorials or something, but you never stop using the tutorials. Um, this is such a hindrance to new developers because you're getting spoon fed all of the information. You never go and explore and try things and fail and learn. So as you are learning and you're using your book or your course or your whatever it is, at some point step away from that and begin to build just on your own. Don't rely on a course. Of course, while you're learning, you're going to be using different resources. Um, I have my resources that I give my students to use, different websites that have trusted information that is up to date, that is reliable. You'll find out what those are for whatever your specific path is. It's different for, between cybersecurity and software and web and data. But each thing has their own tried and true resources. So my biggest advice to you is don't be too scared to go and try things on your own. One of the things that's going to make you a better developer is just failing and figuring out how to fix it. Um, the thing about learning is it doesn't actually feel like you're learning while you're learning. One day you just realize that, oh, I kind of know how to solve that. And the things that I don't know, I can go look up. So tutorials are a great place to start, but the real learning comes when you're on your own and you're just figuring it out. So, my biggest advice for this is to start with what you know and just expand. Things that seem really difficult aren't that bad when you break them down into smaller chunks. You probably can figure out, certain things and then, ask your mentor. For my students, when they are doing, for instance, their final projects, we have checkpoints to make sure that they are progressing as they should, but then if they get stuck, they just come to me, we figure it out, and then, they're able to move on. They're not stuck at a thing for several months. Sometimes when you are self-taught or learning on your own, you do get stuck on something for several months because you don't have that person or that resource. But the quicker you get off happy path, the better you're going to be because you're going to learn quicker. So one thing I'll always say is find and recognize the patterns of different things. When it comes to, I always use MERN as my example. We learn vanilla JavaScript, and then there's some things that carry over when we start learning about Node, and then there's some things that carry over from Node to React. So it's all about just making those connections on what things or what patterns stay the same and what things that change up. So um, that's just my biggest piece of advice. This should have been number one. Get off a happy path and go learn. I am going to pause again for questions. Let's see what we got in the chat. Guadalupe, what are you looking for on the website? And looks like Tanya is agreeing with me. She says, so true, good points. Um, yeah, I've learned these things from several years of learning myself. When you're a developer, you're always learning something new. There's never a point when you're like, okay, I know all there is to know. There's always going to be a new technology or a new something. So get used to it. Get used to not knowing things and get used to figuring things out. It's just part of the job.
Yeah, and Monica, you're absolutely. I just wanted to your point. That this is Tanya, and I was a college professor, and I'm a Java full stack instructor now. And I see many of my students wanting to just review and watch these videos over and over and over again, various tutorials. And I try to explain to them the importance of textbooks, right? To pick up a good textbook and read it yourself and then apply what you've learned in programming or write some type of code to build an application of some sort, even if it's simple. All right. But I firmly agree with you in reference to tutorial hell. Yeah, it can become a little, redundant over time. So, but yeah, so good points. Very, very good points.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for backing me up on that. It's not just me, y'all. This is what the professionals have to say. So, um, Tanya has experienced the same thing with her students. Um, in tech, just watching a tutorial is not going to help you. It's not like learning world history. You actually have to do these things. It's kind of like practicing a sport or practicing playing an instrument. You can't just watch a video on how to do it. You actually have to do it. The repetition is what makes you good for most of us. There are some people who just come out the womb knowing this. No, there isn't. There's people who um, they learn it quicker than some of us, but most of us need a lot of repetition. We need to try different things. And then the more times you come across something, the better you are to handle it the next time you see it. There's some things that I Google every time I actually have to do it because I don't do it often. But the things I do every day, I can do it in my sleep. I actually dream about doing these things sometimes because I do it so much. It's part of my everyday. All right. Okay, Guadalupe, thank you. You found the address. Very good. Robert says, I've been looking for projects to do outside of the class to challenge myself. I don't care too much for YouTube videos, but I'm very interested in books and workbook type stuff. Robert, are you currently a student of ours? Are you a Skillspire student? We do have like an online workbook, like an online I call it an interactive textbook that we use that has different projects that you can work through. So yeah, if you don't have that, we'll talk and make sure you have those resources. And then Bridget says, should you start with the concepts first or go with the tutorial that walk you through the exercise? That's a good question. So I think it probably is going to depend on what you are, what specifically you're learning. Um, I tend to think that you should have a little bit of background about what you're doing. So a few objectives of what you're going to accomplish by learning specific things. So I think that's going to set you up for success. So you should know what the concept is and why you're learning it, and then jump straight to the tutorial. You don't have to be an expert on any of these things. You just need to know enough to be dangerous, especially when you first start out. As you progress, you'll specialize in certain things, but getting started, just have a basic understanding, create a tutorial, be able to explain what you just did, and then continue. Um, when it comes to being able to explain, if you can accurately explain this or explain it well to a little kid to where they understand enough to explain it back to you, I think that's good. Um, if you have non-technical people in your family and you can tell them what you did and then they understand, then that means you have a good grasp of it. If you have a lot of pauses and you're not really sure, then you might want to review it. All right, it looks like that's all the questions in the chat for now. Anybody want to come off mute and ask anything before I move on? Okay, oh, Yasmin has something exciting, so y'all stick around to the end. And if you haven't already sent your email, put your email in the chat. We'll make sure you get the syllabus for the class that you're interested in. When you put your email, let us know what class that you like. And if you have specific questions, you can scroll up and get our email address and email us. All right, so these are the hacks we've talked about so far. Stick with one programming language, get a mentor, find a tribe, read your error messages, and then get off Happy Path. Yeah, I think that's solid advice. Moving on. So, y'all, consistency, it's the ultimate cheat code. I cannot tell you enough how just being consistent, and this is with anything in your life, not just programming. This is why I know this should have been number one. When you do something every day, you're naturally going to get good at it. Think about if you've ever worked out for a substantial period in your life. Think of how good you were at that thing, whether it was, treadmill. Maybe you can treadmill for 2 or 3 hours. Maybe you can put it up on the highest setting or a big incline or whatever it is. And then when you stop, it's harder and harder to do that thing. You get worse at it. It's because the muscle memory, you have that same excuse me, muscle memory when it comes to programming or just tech in general. Doing those things every day is going to make you better at it. Excuse me. So when it comes to being consistent, what's going to help you with this is choosing one program, one programming language, one tutorial, or one program, going back to the first suggestion. The next thing is set up consistency for yourself and learning. So stop and take time to study at the same place and same time every day. If you have a place in your house where it's quiet and you can focus and devote time, get that place. Know that at 5 o'clock or 11 p.m. or 7 a.m., I'm going to take an hour or two to study this particular resource is going to help you a great deal. When I was learning the program, I had my boot camp. It was actually full time, so I did that. And then guess what? I would go eat, take a break, whatever, and then go to Starbucks and study some more. And I think that's my boot camp was only 3 months. So having that repetition definitely helped me. I was able to get a job within 4 months of finishing my boot camp. So repetition as far as studying the same concepts, just give yourself a little time to review things that you've learned in the past. Revisit concepts, practice fundamentals, and you should be practicing these fundamentals until it just feels like breathing. It should be something that you don't have to think a great deal about. You just know it. So whatever it is that you are learning, make sure that you know what the fundamentals are, so you know you're studying the right thing. So your program should cover these topics, and then review these things as much as you can until you can just do them without thinking. The next thing I'll say is track your progress. So this is helpful because we get those, it's like when you have a checklist and checking off those things give you that little dopamine hit. You feel accomplished. So you can celebrate your achievements like, oh, this week I studied these 3 topics and I feel really good about them. I can move on to the next thing. It's going to help keep you focused. I've said that a lot of times throughout this presentation. Focus and consistency are so big. And then also it's going to help you see where you are, where you've been, what you have to do. So if you have a book, you can look at that book and say, "Oh, I'm halfway through that book. I'm doing good." Or you can look at your course that you're doing and you can say, "Oh, I finished 33% of this course." Oh, I'm on track. This is where I wanted to be by this time, or I skipped too many days. I should be already here by now. I need to make sure that I'm staying focused and staying committed. So consistency, y'all, that's the ultimate hack. Without consistency, the rest of these things don't matter as much. When you're a new programmer, you don't know these topics well enough to take a break for a week or 2 weeks. You're going to start to forget. The newer the thing is, and the less time that you think about it, the quicker it's going to leave your brain. So that's my 5 tips. It sounds like somebody has come off mute. We might have a question. Did somebody have something they wanted to add? Okay. So, all right.
I
Thanks,
can I
Tom.
can go ahead and I see that a few people have dropped off. So before we lose more people, I wanted to extend the offer. If you've attended this workshop and you're interested in any of our courses, you get a $500 off our course. And if you yourself are enrolled and you want to suggest somebody else, if you're a student of ours and want to, enroll, suggest to your friends or family, you get that same discount. You get that $500 as as a bonus, as an affiliate program. So feel free to, share and as we mentioned at the beginning, we definitely work with a lot of non-traditional folks who are trying to switch into the industry. Our instructors, as you have seen, also come from such non-traditional backgrounds, so their journey is extremely powerful, and they're great mentors. So give us a try. We are not your huge, big coding boot camp out there. We're small. We're like a boutique coding boot camp. We are a community of students and learners, and we do provide you with a lot of resources.
Thanks so much for mentioning that, Yasmin. That's a good deal, y'all. So jump on that deal if you are interested. Go ahead and just go to the website, fill out your application, and we'll contact you next week and get the ball rolling, provide any additional information to you. And, just we're a resource. So whether you sign up today or in December, we're here for you for a resource. So when you have questions, come talk to us about it. I'm going to give you the best information that I know. I'm going to point you in the right direction and just try to be as helpful as possible. So we have some things in the chat I'm trying to read. I can't read and talk at the same time. Bridget says, you say to learn one thing at a time, but what if you have a specific, what if you have a topic that has several subtopics? So that's where it tends to get a little bit tricky because some things do overlap. Some things you use in conjunction with each other. Having a good course or plan or syllabus or something that you're using is going to help you with that. I wouldn't recommend just picking things from here and there to learn from. That's why I mentioned finding a good course that's going to help you and stick with that one course. It may not necessarily be one specific topic, but I wouldn't go and try to learn C# and Java at the same time, but there may be topics in C# that overlap with each other. For instance, with my MERN-STACK students, they learn JavaScript, they learn HTML first, and then they're learning CSS. You use those two things together. There's really no way to learn CSS alone, but I wouldn't tell them to try to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript at the same time initially. Okay, let's see, Raven. I hope I'm saying your name right, Raven. Is there a code we could use, and is there a time limit? Yasmin, is there a code to get the $500 off, and is there a time limit for that? Okay, so email Yasmin if you have specific questions about that. Yeah, she'll make sure you're taken care of. All right. Latanya says, thank you. You're very welcome. I'm glad you stopped by. I appreciate you. Bridget says, for instance, Angular includes TypeScript, Node, NPM, and JavaScript. Oh, that's a good question. Oh, and you've done your research, Bridget. That's awesome. All right. So yes, for Angular, you do need to know Node. So Node and NPM overlap. JavaScript and TypeScript kind of overlap. So if you find a good course, they will be able to a good resource just in general, they'll be able to make sure that you're learning the things in conjunction that need to be learned in conjunction. All right, Guadalupe says thanks. No, thank you, Guadalupe. I appreciate you coming. And Yasmin put her link for her meeting link in there. If you want to have a one-on-one chat with Yasmin about anything tech related, go ahead and click that link and set up time. Y'all, she's so busy. I can't believe she's doing that. She has plenty of things to do, and she's gonna stop and take the time to talk to y'all. Okay, that's nice. All right. Um, yeah, looks like that's all of our questions. I see we have a DeAndre. Is this my student DeAndre in the chat? I'm curious. Okay, and Yasmin did mention that January 31st is the last date to get that promotion. So send her an email